The Chargers just made a move that could change everything. Mike McDaniel walked into that press room and said something that made every NFL analyst stop dead in their tracks. Justin Herbert's career might have just been saved, and here's why nobody saw this coming. Mike McDaniel stood at that podium Tuesday afternoon, and the first thing he said wasn't about schemes or playbooks. He looked straight into the cameras and talked about protecting Justin Herbert like he was discussing his own family. That tells you everything you need to know about what's been happening behind closed doors in Los Angeles. Working under head coach Jim Harbaugh, McDaniel brings his offensive genius to a Chargers team desperate for answers. Herbert took 54 sacks last season. Let that number sink in. The guy who's supposed to be the franchise cornerstone got hit more than almost any quarterback in football. He's been running for his life since the day he stepped onto an NFL field, and everyone just kept talking about his arm talent like that was going to be enough. McDaniel sees it differently. He spent the last 4 years in Miami turning Tua Tagovailoa into one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league. People forget Tua was on the hot seat when McDaniel arrived. Now he's throwing to open receivers, getting the ball out in under 2.5 seconds, and the Dolphins' offense became one of the scariest units in football. The press conference started simple enough. Questions about his philosophy, about transitioning from Miami, about what attracted him to Jim Harbaugh's staff. Then someone asked about Herbert's playing style. McDaniel said, "I think not relying too heavily on Justin's ability to do above and beyond, I think is critical to maximize those types of opportunities. It'll be one of the first things that we'll try to do, take a little off his plate, so he is free to do that when his greatness is required." Those were his exact words. He talked about how Herbert has been forced to make too many difficult throws without enough schematic help. Defenses have been able to sit back and wait because the Chargers haven't been creating easy answers with motion and pre-snap adjustments. The comparison to Andrew Luck hangs in the air, even if McDaniel didn't say the name out loud. Luck retired at 29 because his body couldn't take it anymore. He was one of the most talented quarterbacks of his generation, and the Colts lost him because they couldn't figure out how to protect him. The Chargers were heading down that same road with Herbert, and everyone could see it except the people making decisions. Then McDaniel dropped the real bomb. McDaniel explained his approach. So much of the National Football League defense is post-snap, they want to hide the picture from the quarterback pre-snap. To do that, they give pre-snap space. You can take advantage of that space with quick throws and getting the ball in and out. That means motion, shifts, and formations that force defenses to show their hand early. It means Herbert won't be standing in the pocket trying to decode zone coverage while a 280-pound defensive end is bearing down on him. Look at what McDaniel did with the Dolphins' running game. They finished third in rushing yards in 2023 with a backfield that nobody considered elite. Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane became household names because McDaniel's scheme created running lanes that weren't supposed to exist. Now imagine what he can do with emerging talent like Omarion Hampton, J.K. Dobbins, and Gus Edwards in that same system. The easier completions McDaniel mentioned aren't just about quick slants and bubble screens. He's talking about using pre-snap motion to identify man coverage versus zone. He's talking about creating natural picks and rubs that get receivers open within the structure. He's talking about putting Herbert in positions where the read is obvious and the throw is there. Herbert's arm can make every throw in the book. That's never been the question. The question has always been whether the Chargers would give him an offense that doesn't require him to be perfect on every snap. McDaniel's track record suggests he's figured out how to do exactly that. The Dolphins averaged over 29 points per game in 2023, with Tua under center during McDaniel's most successful season. They did it with an offensive line that ranked middle of the pack in pass protection. They did it because McDaniel's system creates easy completions that turn into explosive plays. Quick throws to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle that turned into 60-yard touchdowns because the play design already had them running past the defense. Herbert has the arm to make those same throws. He's got emerging talent like Ladd McConkey, who set Chargers rookie records in 2024, Quentin Johnston showing flashes, and other weapons who can win on underneath routes. Give those guys the ball in space, and they don't need to be as fast as Hill to make big plays happen. McDaniel also mentioned something that got overlooked in the initial reports. He talked about building the offense around Herbert's mobility without turning him into a running quarterback. That's a crucial distinction. Herbert's not Lamar Jackson, but he's athletic enough to extend plays and pick up first downs when the pocket breaks down. McDaniel wants to use that threat without exposing Herbert to unnecessary hits. The 49ers did this with Jimmy Garoppolo years ago when McDaniel was still climbing the coaching ranks in San Francisco. They built an offense where the quarterback rarely took big shots because the design protected him. Play action off heavy run looks, quick game off motion, and deep shots only when the defense gave them single high safety looks. Herbert's injury history is already starting to pile up. Fractured rib cartilage in 2022, surgery on his left hand after playing through a fracture for weeks in 2025. These aren't fluky injuries from bad luck. These are injuries that happen when a quarterback is taking too many hits and playing through too much contact. The Chargers brass watched Herbert lead them to an 11-6 record last year despite offensive line struggles. They saw him complete passes that shouldn't be possible while getting destroyed on every other dropback. But when it mattered most in the playoffs, they managed just 3 points against New England, and they finally realized something had to change. Bringing in McDaniel wasn't just about offensive innovation. It was about admitting the previous approach wasn't working. It was about recognizing that talent alone isn't enough if you're grinding your franchise quarterback into dust before he hits his prime. The vision McDaniel laid out goes beyond just this season. He talked about building something sustainable, something that can evolve as Herbert develops and as the roster changes around him. That's the long-term thinking the Chargers have been missing. When McDaniel mentioned protecting Herbert, he wasn't just talking about pass protection. He was talking about protecting his confidence, his health, and his career trajectory. He was talking about creating an environment where Herbert doesn't have to be perfect to be successful. The NFL is littered with talented quarterbacks who never reached their potential because the organization around them failed. David Carr got shell-shocked behind a terrible Texans offensive line. Alex Smith bounced around the league before finally finding stability. Andrew Luck walked away from the game entirely. Herbert is 0-3 in playoff games, including his playoff disaster against Houston in the 2024 season playoffs, where he threw 4 interceptions, and managing just 3 points in the 2025 wildcard loss to New England. He doesn't have to be another cautionary tale. McDaniel walked into that building with a plan to make sure he isn't. The scheme is designed, the philosophy is clear, and the commitment from the top down seems real this time. Chargers fans have been burned before. They've watched this organization waste talent for decades. LaDainian Tomlinson never got a ring. Phillip Rivers spent his entire career trying to overcome roster deficiencies, but something feels different about this move. McDaniel didn't promise a Super Bowl in his first press conference. He didn't guarantee anything except effort and smart football. He talked about putting Herbert in position to succeed without breaking his body. That might be the most honest thing a Chargers coach has said in years. The NFL season doesn't wait for anyone. Training camp is coming, and McDaniel will need to install this system fast. But the foundation is there, the quarterback is there, and now, for the first time in Herbert's career, it feels like the Chargers have a real plan to maximize what they have. Justin Herbert's career isn't over. It might just be getting started.